All righty. Welcome, welcome. Hey, Ryan, how are you?
Hey, Amy, I'm good. I hope you're doing well.
I'm doing well. It's a busy Wednesday, and so I really appreciate you being here with me today.
Oh, my pleasure.
Thank you. And so what we're going to talk about today are three important things students can do now that really fall under the umbrella of what they can control as far as possibly increasing their chances of college
Hmm.
admissions. So thank you for joining me so that you can give your expert opinion, your perspective. And so here are the three topics we're going to talk about. So
Okay.
number one, and I'm going to try to when you are talking, also type some comments. And so I know a lot of our viewers will watch this on the replay, and I think
Hmm.
it's helpful to summarize. So number one, to what extent does demonstrated interest help a student get into college? And maybe we should back up and explain what that means.
Yeah, it's a great
But,
question.
but before you do, I'm just going to give a real quick overview. And then
Mhm.
number two, AI tools in writing the essays.
Mhm.
So, what are you hearing as far as what the colleges might be flagging or looking out for? And our conversation today is really to help students get in. What should they be wary
Definitely.
of?
Yeah.
And
Good
then, yep, yep. And then number three, as far as other things to be wary of, and as far as things students can do to control, what colleges learn about them, is to what extent do some colleges actually look at potential candidates' social media?
question.
And what steps should, and I know this is a lot, this is going to be
Interesting.
short and sweet.
Right.
And really, if parents want to take a deeper dive, if students want to take a deeper dive, we'll absolutely let them know how they can get a hold of you after our short time together. So first topic is demonstrated interest. Is this changing? What does it mean? Just give us your best perspective.
Sure. Yeah. Great questions, by the way. I like your variety of questions you have here, and they're very pertinent, obviously,
Thanks. Yes.
not only for seniors, but for any students that are getting ready to go off to college or
Yeah.
going to go or applying to college over the next few years. So any high school
Yeah.
students. So demonstrated interest, if parents don't know what that means that you are showing interest in the college. I mean, it's kind of self-explanatory, but how do you do that? How parents ask me all the time, well, how do I show demonstrated interest? Well, there's a number of different ways you can show demonstrated interest. Number one, you can go to the website. You can do a virtual tour where you actually
Okay.
log in and they collect your information. You have to put your name, your email address, all that information.
Okay.
If your son or daughter goes by their booth on a college fair and they scan their name or their card, or they, again, put their contact information, that's demonstrated interest. If you visit the
Okay.
school, social media, if you follow them on social media, if you get their newsletter, if you click on their links, we could go on and on and on. They collect all this information. Now,
Yes.
your question was, how important is it? And I guess the question or the statement, I would say, it depends on the college or
Right.
university.
Right.
So if you think of your larger state schools, right? If you're Ohio State, right?
Yeah.
They're not looking at everyone's social media. They're not looking at
Right.
everyone's, interest. Why? Because they have
Mhm.
so many students applying to Ohio State. They don't need to do that. Okay.
But is that true across the board? Because especially last year, we have schools that had a lot of applicants just explode, right?
Oh, sure.
Especially a lot of these large Southern schools. And
Yeah.
so, is there a difference with a student showing demonstrated interest if the college, even if it's huge, comes to their school and this versus going to a college fair? Like, even if it's a big school.
Again, from what I can tell, no, the larger state schools, again,
Yeah.
they have so many students
Yeah.
applying. They don't need
Right.
demonstrated interest because they have so many students, right? And so
Okay.
they know that they're going to get a lot of students that are going to accept and go to their school.
Right.
And again, I'm being very general. There's always exceptions to the rules, right?
Right.
So I'm not saying every large state school does this. I'm just saying in general.
Yeah.
I would say it's more prevalent in your medium size schools, your private schools, typically, and your like non-Ivy League schools, right? Like Ivy League is not going to necessarily care, right? Because they have so
Exactly.
many applicants, right? But if you pick a school, I don't know, let's just pick a college in Georgia, Mercer, for example.
Okay.
Mercer puts a lot of emphasis on demonstrated interest. Why?
Right.
Because they want to make sure that they're not wasting their time, right? They have
Yeah.
limited budget, and they're going to work with students that really want to come to Mercer, or they think they have a good chance of, Mercer thinks they have a good chance of coming to their school. And so they're not going to waste their time on students that maybe Mercer thinks that they're the fallback option. You know what I mean? And so Mercer's like, all right, if you show us interest, we are going to obviously show you a little bit more interest.
But here's a question I'm asked a lot. Yeah, no, I get that with the smaller schools, but what about some of these large schools where, especially, you and I both saw with our students last year, really great students, not getting in early action. Their entire application was deferred to regular admissions. And then at that point, is there a way that showing demonstrated interest would actually tilt the scales? Because at that point they've whittled down, they have rejected thousands of people, they have accepted thousands. So at that point, because I'm expecting, and I think we all are, similar results from last year with just this huge massive influx, and how many top-notch students did not get in with early action. So at that point, and I know it's hard to just ask your opinion, and it's hard, there's a hardcore data out there oftentimes, but as far as some of these like big SEC schools that saw a huge increase in applicants, in December and January, if they've taken a tour, if they've, like you've said, they've attended the college fair, if they have done these other steps to demonstrate their interest, and maybe the verdict is out there yet, but can that help a student ultimately, get in?
Again, depends upon the college or university. I don't think it will with these larger state schools. And it's just not SEC schools, right? I mean, it's like UNC Charlotte, it's App State, it's NC State, they're just getting bombarded with applicants. But to get off maybe the wait list, or to get into the yes column, these colleges will let them know specifically, the students know specifically what they want them to do. And it's, school to school. So some colleges say, yep, you send in your resume. If you have updated transcript with better scores and grades, if you have some more letters of recommendation, so on and so forth. But they will let you know specifically. But in terms of demonstrated interest with these large state schools, I don't think that plays a role.
Right. Okay. Very good. I mean, I would happily push back a little bit and say, but this is a little different than where and I know where you're coming from, but don't you think if a student, so many of our students apply to so many schools just because they sound good or they think they look fun, but by demonstrating their interest, it's actually even more to help them, like, oh, maybe I really don't like this campus, it's too big, or I don't want to be this far from home. So I think it serves a different purpose that I think could ultimately help them make a decision.
Well, I think that's a different definition, right? There's demonstrated interest means you're trying to demonstrate to the school that you're interested, versus just going and visiting the school to see if it's a good fit. So that's, to me, that's a different kind of definition.
Right. For sure. I agree. So the next topic I have is, and it's really been growing as AI has been growing in all walks of life. So from your point of view, what are you hearing the colleges are saying as far as what they're looking out for, as far as, students have to be careful with their use of some of these technology tools?
Sure. Yeah. The colleges I spoke with last year, all of them used an AI tool to but put the information, the essays, scan the essays to determine if there were any factors or any red flags that they thought was written by AI. But some colleges, it's a big deal. Some colleges, it's not such a big deal. Right. So Georgia Tech is kind of like, it's not that big of a deal. But other schools, it's a huge red flag. If you use AI, you're automatically, you're not even considered. So we're kind of in the wild, wild west, as I like to say, when it comes to AI and essays. And so I always tell my students to kind of lean on the side of not using AI.
Of course,
you can use AI in some instances, like check my spelling or things like that, but not to write, anything, right? Because it can. And obviously the programs that are used today, and I use those same programs as well with my students, it's not always 100% accurate. the red flags that come up, sometimes they're not 100% accurate. So, I think it just depends upon the college and the university. And I think we are going to see some big changes over the next 5 years when it comes to essays and colleges.
I do too.
And, how much emphasis they put on it, or is it going to be live, right? Are they going to have an appointment to sit down and write for 30 minutes, in front of a proctored person, or are they going to be more interviewing instead of writing? It'll be interesting.
It will be really interesting. I mean, it really still comes down from a writing teacher's point of view. Like, kids and people, no matter what career field they're going to go into, need to know how to write.
Sure.
And, in my neck of the woods, it's, oh my gosh, I have to write this personal statement and then 17 supplemental essays. And I really haven't dedicated the time and effort to learn how to do that. Not for everyone, of course. And so it will be quite fascinating. I think the other thing, Ryan, that I've researched a lot over the past 3, 4, 5 years is so many colleges and elite colleges are embracing the use of AI, but then high schools are treating it, like it's, you're committing the biggest sin to use it. So I think the point is, how do we teach students to ethically use it, which, it's a whole nother conversation, but I think a valuable conversation. Yeah. So, the final topic I have today, and again, for parents watching this now and watching this on the replay, these are all things your students can control, which is one of the reasons, Ryan loves what he does. I love what I do. Is if you are organized and leave enough time, this whole process can be so much less daunting. And this next specific topic has to do with, to what extent are some colleges actually looking at a student's social media profile to evaluate if the student is a fit or not. And I have worked with many students over the past few years who are getting recruited for a sport, and that might alter your answer too. But definitely. What is your sense there?
Yeah, it's a great question. So what I'm seeing, if you are being recruited as an athlete, or if you're up for a big scholarship, your son or daughter's up for a big scholarship, you better believe they're going to look at the social media accounts for sure. For the general population, for your larger schools, probably not, unless, again, if they're getting a big scholarship, or they're in the running for a big scholarship, or if they're, an athlete or something like that, it's a little bit more high profile, then they're absolutely going to look at your social media. I don't necessarily know if they're going to look at every student's social media. Your smaller private schools have more opportunity to do that. Again, your larger state schools, where you're dealing with 50,000 applications, they're not going to go through and look at each student's social media. But if they're getting scholarships, they will certainly do that.
That's exactly what I thought you were going to say. And I think that students need to be aware of that from, the time they set foot into the minute they get their own, which is a whole nother conversation, social media accounts. And I know you start working with students when they're 8th graders and freshmen, right? And so that is depending on the path they're taking. And it's also just good life lessons.
I use a grandma test. That's what I tell my students is that, if there's anything that on your social media account that if you showed your grandmother and she would be embarrassed, then take it off your social media.
I guess it depends on the grandma, right?
Yeah, but in general, you know what I mean.
My mom would have been like, woohoo. She was her own unique bird. But in all seriousness, I mean, looking at, these 3 topics, and I do have one more really interesting question for you. And I know I'm going to like your answer, but just to review real quickly, we're talking about this idea of demonstrated interest. We're talking about, using, to what extent can students use AI tools now to complete their applications, and to be really careful there. Definitely. And then finally, the impact of one's social media profile on their college admission. So these are all things that, students can control and feel a greater sense of responsibility starting now. And Ryan, I know we've seen, especially last year, just such a huge increase in applicants to a lot of schools that were, moderately difficult to get into, that are quickly moving into the highly competitive.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean,
so
I was just really surprised. I'm sure you were, by some of the schools that were not accepting students that 5 years ago they were Easily would have been accepted.
Easily would have been accepted. So how do you approach consulting a student who has dream schools and their list is mostly made up of difficult, with the shift especially,
Hmm.
right? Not 5 or 6 years ago, but now, because all we have is now,
Yeah.
right? With the list that really is mostly stretch
Yeah.
or dream schools.
Sure.
And do you advise the student to focus on the numbers because numbers don't lie, like GPA or SAT or ACT? Or how do you gently encourage them that you need what I call happy safeties?
Sure.
School, yeah.
I think from my point of view, I try to give my students, my parents, the big picture. I mean, ultimately, what are you trying to achieve when you go to college? It's not necessarily going to this named school. It's potentially having a better life, a good job, a good life after college, right? Because you're going to spend majority of your life after college, not those 4 years in college, right? So
Right.
the ultimate goal is to get a great job after college, right? Have a good life after college, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we use different programs to show students, hey, if you go to this school, let's say you majored in communications.
Yeah.
You went to this named school, this is what you would make in year 1, year 5, and year 10 on average. If you went to this a little bit less prestigious school, this is what you'd make on year 1, year 5, and year 10. And they look at it and go, wow, I didn't realize I would make the same amount of money. I'm like, yeah. And guess what? It's going to cost 1/3 of the price. Why would you go to this school for 3 times the price? You're going to make the exact same amount of money. And students and parents, I think, have been, kind of told by their parents, you got to go to these certain schools,
Right.
to get these certain jobs, to make this certain money. And that's not the case in today's world, in today's society. And I can tell my students to that till I'm blue in the face, but I have to show them numbers. I have to show them details and say, look, let me prove it to you. And then the light bulb goes on and they go, oh, wow. So I don't have to go to this school to get a good job, and I can make the same amount of money, and I have less stress, and I'll probably enjoy my time. Yes. So it's not about
that's great.
trying to manipulate it. It's really just saying, hey, here's the truth. It's up to you. And I'm not saying don't go for it, right? Don't go for those schools. But you just might be just as happy if you apply to some of these other schools as well, because you're going to make the same amount of money when you graduate.
Well, and it's interesting that you say that, because I tend to have a lot of students who are quite social, and they want to have this certain experience.
Yeah.
And they also have an idea of what they might want to major in.
Sure.
But what I'm hearing from you, which I think is really powerful, is to focus on those facts. Like, well, these other schools have Greek life, and they also have these 3 majors that you might be interested in. And let's just say the student says they want to study abroad, and they also offer fabulous study abroad programs.
Sure.
So what I'm picking up on that I think is super effective is, number one, what is the ultimate goal? And I think that answer could vary per student, whether it is the job they have and the income they're making, whether it is a certain social experience or the potential to go to graduate school or to study abroad.
Right.
And so if we can help extract those facts from the student, which is the college consulting, then perhaps doors can be open to other schools that they don't know about. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's when the light bulb goes on and they're like, oh, okay, well, now I can relax a little bit. Now I don't have as much social pressure.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And sometimes I think it's more the parents than the students.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The parents are kind of like, oh, they've got to impress the other mom. So I got to tell them my son or daughter is going to this certain school or whatever it may be. And the numbers don't, I mean, they could go to those schools, but it doesn't necessarily guarantee that they're going to get a better job or a better outcome.
Right. Yeah. No, I hear you. And I think that's why it's really helpful to have, an outside perspective and outside opinion, to take, for both parents and students. So,
yes.
Well, this is awesome as usual. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
And for everyone out there, whether you're watching us now live, please say hello. Watching us on the replay, please leave a comment. And Ryan, where can parents find out about you? I know you offer, so generous, like a free strategy or consulting session to get to know parents and students. What's the best way that they can learn more about you?
Yeah, obviously you can go to my website, clarkcollegeconsulting.com. and they can kind of get a better feel of how we work and the type of students we work with and type of parents we work with. Obviously, everyone doesn't agree with the way I think and the way we do things, but we work with lots of great, wonderful students and parents. And so we do offer a free 25-minute consultation for you guys to get to know me and I get to know you, but also maybe kind of strategize what they should be doing during junior year. What classes should they be taking? What can they be doing to build up their resume? So on and so forth. So we do offer that.
Awesome. Wonderful. Well, thank you again. And I really appreciate your time. And we'll do this soon. Lots to talk about, especially with the changing landscape of college admissions, as always.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Ryan. Talk
Thank
to you
you.
later.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye, everyone.